The morning sun rose slowly over the small town of Riverfield. The air smelled of wet leaves and old bricks. It was one of those quiet towns where people knew each other by name. Life was slow, simple, and sometimes too hard for the ones who had nothing. In a rundown part of the town sat two children behind a crumbling brick wall. They were twins, a boy and a girl, barely 10 years old. Their faces were thin. Their clothes were torn. Their shoes had holes. But their eyes held something strong, something that never gave up. Their names were Mason and Mia. They were orphans. Their mother died during childbirth. Their father passed away 2 years ago in a car accident. Since then, they had been moving from one shelter to another, but none could keep them for long. Too full, not enough space. So the twins ended up on the streets. Every morning they woke up on a wooden bench behind the bakery. They had one small blanket between them. It smelled like old soup, but it was all they had. They took turns using it every night. That morning, Mason looked up at the sky and whispered, "Maybe today we find food, Mia." His sister smiled and nodded. "Maybe someone gives us something good." Mia held his hand. They always stayed close, always together. That was the rule they made. Never leave each other behind. As they stood to begin their day of searching for food and small jobs, a strange sound stopped them. It was a loud clunk, then another, then the sound of a car tried to start, but failing. It was coming from the corner of the street. Mason and Mia looked at each other. Then they ran to the corner. There they saw a black luxury car, a sleek vehicle with shiny silver rims. But something was wrong. Smoke was coming from the engine. A man stepped out of the car. He wore a black suit and a wristwatch that probably cost more than the bakery itself. His face was clean, his shoes polished. His name was Mr. Benjamin Gray. Benjamin was a billionaire, the kind of man you saw on TV. He built companies, bought land, donated to charities. But few knew that Benjamin was tired of fake smiles, tired of gold diggers, tired of people who wanted him only for his money. He had left the city to find peace. Just one weekend without meetings or emails. But now his car was broken, in the middle of a town he had never been to, with no mechanic in sight. Mason walked up to him slowly. "So your car is smoking. Maybe it is the radiator." Benjamin looked down at the thin boy and frowned. "You know about cars?" "A little. My dad used to teach me. Before he died." Benjamin paused. He did not expect that. Before he could reply, Mia stepped forward. "We can help you, sir. If you want, maybe we can fix it." Benjamin looked at their faces. Dirty but sincere. Poor but kind. He nodded slowly. "All right, try your best." Mason and Mia opened the hood of the car. Steam hissed out. Mason pointed to the radiator cap and smiled. "It is loose, and you are low on coolant. That is why it is overheating." Benjamin raised an eyebrow. "How do you know that?" Mason replied softly. "I watched my dad fix trucks. He always let me hold the flashlight." They found an old bottle and fetched water from a nearby tap. Mason poured it into the radiator carefully. Mia tightened the cap with her small fingers. Then they waited. Benjamin got back into the car and turned the key. It roared to life. It worked. Benjamin stepped out slowly. He stared at the twins, then reached for his wallet. "How much do I owe you?" Mason shook his head. "Nothing, sir. We just wanted to help." Benjamin stared at them. He saw something that made his chest heavy. These kids had nothing, yet they asked for nothing. Just a chance to help. Just a bit of kindness. He knelt beside them. "Where do you live?" Mia pointed to the bench. "There, behind the bakery. And your parents?" "Gone." Benjamin looked away. His throat felt tight. Something in him broke. Something he had kept buried for years. He stood up and nodded. "Come with me. I am not leaving you behind." Mason looked confused. "Why, sir?" "Because the world forgot about you. But I will not." And that was the moment everything changed. That was the moment two orphan twins fixed more than just a car. They touched the heart of a billionaire. And the town of Riverfield was about to witness something they would never forget. The engine purred like a calm river as the black luxury car rolled slowly through the streets of Riverfield. Mason and Mia sat in the back seat. Their eyes were wide. Their hands rested gently on the soft leather seats. It was the first time they had ever been in a car that clean, that quiet, that warm. Mr. Benjamin Gray sat behind the wheel. His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror again and again. He studied the twins as they looked out the window like they were staring at a new world. He could still not understand how two children so young could be so polite, so kind, so humble. "Are you hungry?" Benjamin asked the question slowly, as if he was unsure how it would sound. Mason answered first. "Yes, sir. A little." Mia added quickly, "But it is okay. We usually find bread at the back of the bakery. Sometimes it's a bit hard, but we dip it in water to make it soft." Benjamin almost stopped the car. "You eat bread from the trash." Mason looked down and nodded. "Only when we do not find small jobs." Benjamin gripped the steering wheel tighter. His chest was heavy again. These children were not beggars. They had pride. They helped without asking for payment. They spoke with respect. They held their pain with dignity. He had seen rich men cry over broken phones. But these kids smiled through hunger. He made a sharp turn and drove toward the center town. "There's a diner here. I will get you something warm." 10 minutes later, they pulled into a small parking lot. The neon sign above the building blinked slowly. It read Martha's Kitchen. Homemade meals served with love. Benjamin opened the door for them. The bell over the door jingled softly as they walked in. The smell of fried chicken and apple pie filled the air. The twins froze near the door. They were not used to places like this. Too clean, too bright, too full of people. Benjamin walked ahead and waved to a woman behind the counter. "Martha, I need your best for my guests." The woman smiled. She was in her 50s. Round glasses, curly hair, kind eyes. "Of course, Ben. Sit wherever you like." They sat at a corner booth. Red seats, shiny table, a small vase with plastic flowers. Mia whispered to Mason, "Do you think they will throw us out?" Mason shook his head. "Not with him here." Benjamin heard them. His heart sank again. He had taken billion-dollar decisions without blinking, but now his eyes were wet, and he did not know why. Martha brought 3 plates. Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, cornbread. Then she brought glasses of cold milk and warm pie with whipped cream. "Eat as much as you want." Mason took one bite and gasped. "This is the best thing I have ever eaten." Mia nodded with a big smile. "It is so soft, and the pie is sweet." Benjamin sat back and watched them eat. For the first time in years, he felt peace. Real peace. Not the kind that came with vacations or expensive therapy, but the kind that came from doing something right. When they were done, Martha walked over and asked, "Friends of yours, Ben?" He nodded. "Found them fixing my car. Turns out they are engineers in disguise." Martha laughed and touched Mia's shoulder gently. "You are always welcome here, sweetheart." Mia smiled shyly. "Thank you, ma'am." Benjamin paid the bill and left a tip that made Martha gasp. Then they walked back to the car. Mason asked, "Are you taking us to the police now?" Benjamin frowned. "No. Why would I do that? Because we are not allowed to live outside. Sometimes the police take us to shelters, but they're always full." Benjamin stopped and knelt in front of them. "I am not taking you to a shelter. I am taking you somewhere safe." Mia asked softly, "Where, sir?" "To my home." The twins looked at each other, then back at him. "Why?" Benjamin stood and smiled. "Because you fix more than my car. You fix something in me too. And because sometimes people just need a chance. And you gave me mine." The drive to his estate took 2 hours. The sun began to set. The sky turned orange and pink. The road curved past forests and lakes until they reached a massive gate made of iron and glass. A security guard stepped out. "Good evening, Mr. Gray." "Open the gate, Martin. We have guests." The gate swung open slowly. The twins gasped. The house looked like a palace. Long windows, tall columns, water fountains, birds flying over green lawns. flowers blooming like they knew someone special was coming. Inside the house, everything smelled of lemon and wood. The floor shined like mirrors. A woman in uniform appeared from a hallway. "Welcome home, sir." Benjamin smiled. "Please prepare 2 rooms. One for Mason, one for Mia. Warm water, clean clothes. And let the kitchen know we have 2 very special guests." The woman nodded and disappeared. Mia tugged at Benjamin's sleeve. "Can we really stay here?" Benjamin looked into her eyes. "You can stay as long as you want." And just like that, the Orphan twins went from street benches to silk pillows, from cold rain to warm baths, from leftover bread to apple pie. But they did not know that their lives were about to change even more, because not everyone in Benjamin's world was happy about his new guests. And soon the truth about who Mason and Mia really were would come out. And when it did, it would shake everything. The next morning came with golden sunlight pouring through tall windows. Birds chirped softly outside as the estate of Mr. Benjamin Gray slowly came alive. It was the kind of morning that felt peaceful, gentle, like the world had paused for a moment to breathe. Mason was the first to open his eyes. He blinked at the white ceiling. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he remembered the car, the diner, the mansion, the soft bed he had slept in. He sat up slowly. The blanket slipped off his shoulders and he felt warm. Mia was across the hallway in her own room. She was still sleeping, her small face calm, her arms curled around a soft teddy bear the maid had placed beside her the night before. For the first time in months, they had slept with full stomachs, in clean clothes, without fear of being chased or bitten by rats. Benjamin was already downstairs, dressed in a navy blue shirt and dark jeans. He stood near the large window in the living room, a cup of coffee in his hand. His eyes were far away, lost in thought. He had not slept well. His mind kept returning to the twins. He had checked on them twice during the night, made sure they were okay, covered them with an extra blanket, sat for a few minutes in the hallway, listening to their soft breathing. Why did he care so much? He was not their father. He was not their uncle. He had met them just yesterday. But something inside him had shifted, something deep and quiet and strong. He heard footsteps, turned. Mason stood at the foot of the stairs, wearing clean clothes, hair combed neatly. "Good morning, sir." Benjamin smiled. "Good morning, Mason. Did you sleep well?" "Yes, sir. Thank you." "Hungry again?" "Yes, sir. A little." "Come on. Let's see what the kitchen has." Mia joined them minutes later. Her smile was sleepy but real. She looked around the dining room and whispered, "Is this real?" Benjamin laughed softly. "As real as it gets." They had pancakes with syrup, scrambled eggs, fresh fruit, orange juice. Mia giggled with every bite. Mason tried to eat slowly but kept smiling with every forkful. After breakfast, Benjamin asked a question. "Do you go to school?" Mason shook his head. "We did before, when Dad was alive. After he died, we tried, but we cannot pay the fees." Benjamin nodded slowly. "Would you like to go again?" "Yes, sir." "Then you will." Just like that, the decision was made. But not everyone was happy. In the upstairs hallway, behind a closed door, a woman stood with her ear pressed against the wall. Her name was Cheryl. She was Benjamin's personal assistant. She had worked with him for 5 years, managed his calendar, booked his flights, handled his legal calls. She had also always hoped to be more than just his assistant. Cheryl did not like the twins. She saw them as trouble, poor street kids with sad eyes and too much power over Benjamin's heart. She walked down the hallway and met another staff member in the kitchen. "Who are those kids?" The cook replied. "They are orphans. Mr. Gray brought them home yesterday." Cheryl's face tightened. "We do not need orphans in this house." The maid nearby looked uncomfortable. "But they are good children, very polite." Cheryl raised her voice just a little. "I said what I said." Later that afternoon, Cheryl called someone on her phone. Her voice low, her words sharp. "Find me everything about those kids, where they came from, who they really are. I do not trust them. Meanwhile, in the garden, Benjamin was watching Mason and Mia play with a soccer ball. Their laughter filled the air. The flowers swayed in the breeze. The sun made their hair glow. Mia kicked the ball too far, and it rolled near Benjamin. She ran to get it and asked, "Sir, why are you so kind to us?" He looked at her for a moment before answering, "Because when I was your age, I was an orphan too." Mia blinked. "Really?" Benjamin nodded. "I grew up in a foster home. I was lucky someone gave me a chance. That is why I am giving you one now." Mia ran back to Mason and whispered something in his ear. He smiled and waved at Benjamin. "Thank you, sir. We will never let you down." Benjamin waved back. "I know you will not." But as the twins laughed and ran and kicked the ball again, a shadow moved across the window upstairs. Cheryl stood there, watching, her eyes cold, her lips tight. She had made up her mind. Those twins had to go, and what she would do next would put everything in danger. Everything Benjamin had built, everything Mason and Mia were beginning to hope for. Because not every heart can stand to see goodness win. And Cheryl's heart was filled with something else. Jealousy. Night fell over the gray estate like a soft velvet curtain. Stars filled the sky. The garden lights flickered gently. Inside the mansion, all was quiet. The kind of quiet that only came in places far away from city noise and street horns. Mason and Mia had finished their warm baths and were now tucked into their beds. Mia hugged her new teddy bear close. Mason stared at the ceiling and whispered, "Mia, do you think this will last?" Mia turned her head. "I hope so. Mr. Gray is kind. Maybe he will let us stay forever." Mason nodded slowly. "I want to believe that." At that same hour, Cheryl was awake, sitting in her private room upstairs, her laptop open, papers scattered around her desk. She had a file pulled up on the screen, a report she'd paid someone to get from the city. She scrolled through it with narrow eyes. Mason Carter, age 10. Mia Carter, age 10. Parents deceased. No known relatives. Previously registered at Fairbrook Shelter. Removed due to overcrowding. Last seen near Riverfield downtown. She tapped her fingers against her cup. Cold coffee. Bitter, like the thoughts running through her mind. Cheryl whispered to herself, "No family, no legal guardian, no education, no assets, no future." She looked at a picture she had secretly taken from the hallway earlier that day. It showed Benjamin smiling at the twins, holding Mia's hand as they walked toward the garden. That was the last straw. She slammed her cup down and picked up her phone. She dialed a number and waited. The call connected. "I need a favor. Quiet. Discreet. I want these kids checked again. I need something on them. Anything. And if there is nothing, make something up. Just make sure Mr. Gray sees it." The voice on the other end replied, "That is going to cost you." Cheryl answered, "Money is not the issue. Just get it done." The call ended. Cheryl sat back and smiled, but it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had waited too long, felt ignored too many times, and now wanted everything her way. Downstairs, Benjamin was in his study. He had an old photo album open on his lap, the pages yellowed with time. He turned them slowly, one by one, pictures of himself as a young boy in foster care, his thin face, his old sneakers, a photo of the couple who adopted him when he was 12, the only real family he ever knew. He smiled faintly. If someone could give me a chance, why can I not give them one too? He closed the book and leaned back in his chair. His heart was lighter than it had been in years. He had business deals waiting, board meetings to attend, but none of that mattered more than the laughter of those twins. They made this house feel like a home. What he did not know was that someone was already trying to tear it apart. The next day came with blue skies and warm air. Birds danced across the lawn. The twins helped the maid fold towels. Then Mia spent time in the library. She had never seen so many books in one place. She chose a storybook with bright colors, sat on the floor, and read out loud. Mason explored the garage with one of the staff. They showed him the tools, the screwdrivers, the engine models. Mason smiled the whole time. You are a smart kid. Ever think about being a mechanic? Mason nodded. My dad was one. I want to be better than him someday. Benjamin watched from a distance, his chest filled with quiet joy. Later that afternoon, Cheryl called Benjamin to her office. She stood beside a folder placed neatly on the table. I have something you need to see, sir. He raised an eyebrow. What is it? Cheryl slid the folder toward him. New information about the twins. Some things you might not be aware of. Benjamin opened the folder. Inside were printed pages, reports, photos. One of the pages was stamped with red ink. A label across it read, Juvenile Alert. He frowned. What is this? Cheryl answered carefully. Records from the city. It seems Mason may have been involved in some petty theft at a supermarket last year. The store owner never pressed charges, but it was documented. Benjamin stared at the page. He is 10. Cheryl nodded. Yes, sir. But still. And Mia was seen loitering near a restricted parking area a few months back. They had been moving around. No schooling. No guardians. No discipline. Benjamin placed the folder down slowly. Where did you get this? A contact. Private investigator. I just thought you should know before you get too involved. Benjamin sat in silence. They fixed my car. They did not ask for anything. They were starving, and they still smiled. Cheryl stepped closer. That is how street kids survive, sir. They charm. They pretend. They take. They disappear. Benjamin looked at her sharply. Enough. Cheryl blinked. Sir. He stood up. I know where this is coming from. You have never liked them, because they remind you of something you do not want to see. That sometimes kindness does not need a reason. Cheryl's voice was quiet. I am only trying to protect you. Benjamin answered, if you wanted to protect me, you would have told me the truth, that you cannot stand the fact I care about them more than I ever cared about your loyalty. He picked up the folder and left the room, his steps firm, his heart angry. He did not believe the file, but it hurt that Cheryl would go so far, just to make the twins look bad. Upstairs, Mason and Mia sat on the floor with puzzles, laughing, sharing pieces, not knowing that someone was already trying to write a story about them, a story filled with lies. But the truth always finds a way, and Benjamin was about to prove it. The next morning, the sky over the Gray estate was gray and heavy. Clouds rolled in from the hills, thick with rain and whispers of storm. The mood inside the mansion was quiet. Not sad, not angry, just quiet, like the house itself was holding its breath. Benjamin stood at the window in his office. The folder Cheryl gave him still sat on his desk. He had read every word twice. Then again, and again, something about it felt wrong. It was too clean, too convenient, too eager to ruin the twins. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. Detective Carter speaking. Detective, this is Benjamin Gray. I need a favor. Quiet, off record. I want someone to confirm a report I received about 2 children, Mason and Mia Carter. I need to know if what I was given is real or made up. Give me a few hours. I will call you back. Benjamin ended the call and looked out the window. Rain had started falling. Light drops at first, then heavier. The lawn shimmered under the silver sky. Downstairs, Mason and Mia were watching a movie in the living room, a cartoon about a robot who wanted to be loved. Mia held her teddy bear tight. Mason rested his head on the armrest. They laughed quietly, unaware that someone had tried to make them look like criminals. Cheryl stayed in her room. She sensed Benjamin was not convinced. She also knew he was the kind of man who did not like being lied to. She was beginning to feel the pressure. Maybe I pushed too hard too fast, she thought to herself. But it was too late now. The folder had already been seen. The damage had been done. Or so she believed. At noon, Benjamin's phone rang. Detective Carter here again. I checked those names. There is no record of theft. No loitering. Nothing serious. The only real info is that they were found sleeping behind a grocery store once. But even that was recorded by a volunteer, not police. Benjamin's jaw tightened. So the report I got was fake. Yes, sir. Looks like someone wanted you to think otherwise. Benjamin thanked him and ended the call. Then he sat down at his desk, closed his eyes, and breathed out slowly. They were innocent, as he had believed all along. He stood up, walked to the hallway, and called out, "Mason, Mia, can you come up here, please?" The twins came running up the stairs. Their shoes squeaked softly on the polished floor. "Yes, sir," Mia asked gently. "Did we do something wrong?" Benjamin shook his head. "No, you did everything right. It is me who almost made a mistake." He sat on the couch and patted the space beside him. They both sat down. "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest." Mason nodded. "Yes, sir. Did you ever steal from a supermarket?" "No, sir. Never." "Did you ever get in trouble with the police?" Mia shook her head. "No, sir. We were once told to leave a parking lot because we were resting there. But we never stole, never lied." Benjamin smiled. A real smile. "That is all I needed to hear." He stood up, walked to the wall safe, pulled out a folder. Not the fake one. A new one with papers, forms, legal documents. "I want to adopt you." The room went still. Mason blinked. "What?" Mia sat frozen. "Adopt?" Benjamin knelt in front of them. "I do not want you just as guests. I want you as family. Legally. Fully. Forever." Tears welled up in Mia's eyes. "But we are nobodies." Benjamin shook his head. "No, you are the most important people in my life now." Mason whispered, "Are you sure?" More than anything, the twins threw their arms around him. And for a moment, there was no mansion, no rain, no past, just warmth, the kind that only comes from belonging. Later that evening, Cheryl was called into the office. Benjamin stood behind his desk, his face calm, his tone steady. "I verified the report you gave me. It was false, fabricated." Cheryl tried to speak. "Sir, I was only trying to." He held up his hand. "You were trying to manipulate me. You betrayed my trust, and you tried to harm two children who have done nothing wrong." She dropped her head. "I did it because I care about you." "No, you did it because you care about control." He opened a drawer and placed an envelope on the table. "Your final paycheck. Your time here is done." Cheryl's eyes filled with tears. "You are firing me." "Yes, and I hope someday you learn that kindness is not weakness." She left without another word. The storm outside grew heavier. Thunder rolled across the sky. But inside the mansion, the fire was warm, the lights were soft, and two children sat beside a man who had just given them something greater than money. A home. The rain had stopped by morning. The sky was clean again. Birds returned to the trees around the gray estate. The garden looked fresh. The flowers seemed brighter. It was like the storm had washed something old away and left the world new again. Inside the mansion, the air felt different. Not just warm, not just clean, but full of something deeper. Hope. Mason and Mia stood in front of the tall mirror in the hallway. They wore new clothes again, this time formal ones. Light blue shirts, gray pants for Mason, a gray skirt and neat blouse for Mia. Their shoes were polished, their hair brushed. They looked like they belonged. Today was the day they would visit the courthouse. Benjamin walked out of his room. He smiled when he saw them. "You look perfect." Mia whispered, "I am scared, sir." Benjamin bent down and placed a hand on her shoulder. "That is okay. I was scared too the first time someone gave me a real name. But you are not alone. I am with you." The drive to the courthouse took an hour. The roads were quiet. Mason looked out the window. Mia held Benjamin's hand in the back seat. None of them spoke much, but the silence was not heavy. It was filled with thoughts, hopes, memories. At the courthouse, a clerk greeted them and led them to a small waiting room. Inside were chairs, a wooden table, a clock ticking on the wall. A judge entered after a few minutes, an older woman with kind eyes and a calm voice. "So you are Mason and Mia Carter?" "Yes, ma'am." Benjamin spoke next. "And I am here to adopt them both." The judge nodded. I have gone through your file, Mr. Gray. Everything looks in order. But before we begin, I would like to hear from the children. She turned to Mason. Do you understand what adoption means? Yes, ma'am. It means we will be part of his family. And do you want that? Yes, more than anything. She turned to Mia. And you, dear? Mia nodded. Yes, ma'am. He makes us feel safe. Like we matter. The judge smiled. Then by the power of the court, I grant this adoption request. From this day forward, Mason and Mia Gray, the twins, looked at each other, then at Benjamin. They rushed into his arms. We have a last name now, Mason said. A name that is not just a label. Mia added, a name that means we belong. Benjamin hugged them close. You always belonged. You just needed someone to remind you. They left the courthouse holding hands. A reporter tried to stop them at the steps. Sir, is it true you adopted 2 homeless kids? Benjamin smiled. No, I adopted 2 brilliant children who just happened to be homeless for a while. The reporter raised an eyebrow. Why them? Because they fix more than my car. They fix my heart. Back at the mansion, the staff gathered at the front door to welcome them home. The cook had baked cupcakes. The maids had made welcome banners. Even the gardener had trimmed the hedges into the letters M and M. Mason and Mia giggled. That is us. Benjamin laughed. The world better get ready for Mason and Mia Gray. Over the next few days, the twins were enrolled in school, a private school just outside town. They had uniforms, books, lunch boxes with their names on them. They rode the school car every morning with a driver who smiled at them like they were his own. They studied hard. They made friends. But they never forgot where they came from. One day during lunch, a boy teased Mason for not knowing what sushi was. Do they not eat sushi in your world? Mason smiled politely. No, but we had stale bread soaked in water. It was not fancy, but it kept us alive. The table went quiet. Mia joined in. We are not rich kids, but we are not broken either. Their honesty made the others listen. And slowly, the twins began to change more than just their lives. They changed how others saw kindness, struggle, strength. Meanwhile, Benjamin began to work less. He spent more time at home. He joined Mason in the garage to help him build toy cars. He read bedtime stories with Mia. He even learned how to braid her hair. Badly at first, then better each day. One evening, Mason asked, Sir, do you think Dad would have liked you? Benjamin nodded slowly. I hope so. I think we would have been friends. Mia asked, Do you miss anyone? Benjamin looked out the window. Yes, my mom. She passed when I was 15. She was strong, brave, kind. Mia touched his hand. Then you are like her. Benjamin smiled. Maybe I am. And maybe you two are like your parents too. Brave and kind. That night, as they all sat on the couch watching cartoons, Benjamin looked at the children beside him and whispered, This is the family I never knew I needed. But life is never still for long. And far away, in the dark corners of the internet, a blog post appeared. Billionaire adopts street kids. Real reason behind it may shock you. The post had pictures, words twisted, doubts planted. Old enemies of Benjamin had started talking again. And once again, trouble was on its way. The blog post spread faster than anyone expected. At first, it was a quiet whisper in an online corner. But by evening, news outlets picked it up. Social media filled with comments. Some were kind, some were curious, but many were loud, mean, and full of doubt. Why would a billionaire adopt 2 homeless kids? What is he hiding? Is this a publicity stunt? Back at the Gray estate, Mason and Mia were having dinner. Lasagna, garlic bread, and chocolate milk. Their laughter filled the dining room. They did not know yet that the outside world had started turning its head. Benjamin sat at the head of the table. His phone buzzed again and again. Emails, news alerts, messages from business partners. He picked up the remote and turned on the television. A news anchor spoke with a sharp voice. Today we look into the mysterious adoption of two street kids by billionaire Benjamin Gray. While many praise his kindness, others question the timing. His company's stock had dipped last quarter. Could this be a clever distraction? Benjamin turned off the TV and rubbed his temples. The world always wants a reason, even when kindness is the only one. Later that night, Mason walked past Benjamin's office and heard voices. Benjamin was on a video call. I am telling you, this has nothing to do with business. Those kids are my family now. A man on the screen replied, family or not, investors are spooked. You are becoming a headline. That is bad for business. Benjamin ended the call without another word. The next morning, the estate was not peaceful. A group of reporters stood outside the gate. Cameras flashed. Microphones waved. Security had to close the entrance. Benjamin stood at the top balcony, watching from a distance. He had always kept his private life quiet. Now it was being pulled into the spotlight. Downstairs, Mia looked out the window. Why are there so many people outside? Mason answered, I think they found out. Benjamin called the twins into the library. Sit down. I need to tell you something. They sat quietly, eyes wide. There's a lot of noise out there. People asking questions. Some people think I adopted you for attention, for money, for business reasons. Mia asked softly, do you think they will take us away? Benjamin stood and knelt beside them. No, nobody is taking you anywhere. You are mine now, my family. Let them talk. But what if people say mean things? Mason asked, let them. We know the truth. The twins nodded. Later that afternoon, a woman from Child Welfare Services arrived. Her name was Ms. Green. She wore a blue suit and glasses. She had warm eyes, but a serious tone. I just need to check. It is procedure, with all the attention. We have to be sure everything is safe and legal. Benjamin invited her in, gave her access to everything. Rooms, papers, interviews with staff. Ms. Green sat with Mason and Mia in the garden. How do you feel here? Safe, Mason replied. Happy, Mia added. Does he ever yell at you? No. He reads us stories and teaches me how to fix toy engines. Does he buy you things to make you like him? No. He makes us feel like we matter. Ms. Green smiled. That is good to hear. She returned to her office that night and filed a report. Children appear healthy, emotionally stable, happy. Environment is safe. Adoption seems genuine. No cause for concern. But the press was not done. 2 days later, a woman appeared in a viral video. She claimed to know Mason and Mia's birth mother. I used to live near her. Those kids have a rich uncle somewhere. Maybe they were left money. Maybe that billionaire wants a piece of it. Benjamin sighed as he watched it online. This is getting ridiculous. He called his lawyer. We need to track this woman. I want the truth. The lawyer replied, already on it. Also, our firm found no trust fund, no will, nothing left behind by their parents. That woman is lying. Benjamin nodded. Let's prove it. Meanwhile, the school called. Sir, some parents are complaining. They think the twins do not belong here, that they may bring trouble. Benjamin clenched his jaw. Keep them enrolled. Anyone who disagrees can remove their own children. Back at the house, Mia was in tears. A girl in my class called me garbage. She said, I am only here because you felt sorry. Benjamin sat with her and wiped her tears. You are not garbage. You are gold. Do you know how rare people like you are? Strong, brave, loving. Mason sat beside them. We do not care what they say. Benjamin hugged them close. I care that you are okay. I care that you feel safe. A few nights later, Benjamin posted a video from his study. He looked directly into the camera. I did not adopt Mason and Mia to gain followers. I adopted them because they reminded me of something the world forgot. That kindness is power. That broken people still deserve love. That a family is not made by blood alone, but by choice. The video spread fast. Millions of views. Thousands of shares. The comments turned. From cruel to supportive, from suspicion to admiration. And then, something surprising happened. One of Benjamin's biggest investors called. "I watched your video. I lost my father young. That story hit me hard. I want to invest more, not less." Others followed. Suddenly, being kind became good business. And the world that had doubted Benjamin Gray now wanted to be more like him. A week had passed since the storm of media noise began to calm. The Gray estate was peaceful again. No more cameras at the gate. No more reporters in the bushes. No more cold stares at school. Mason and Mia had settled into a routine. School in the morning, homework in the afternoon, evening walks in the garden with Benjamin. They smiled more, slept better, laughed louder. But something was coming. Something that no one could predict. It arrived in the form of an envelope, thick paper, no return address, only Benjamin's name written in neat handwriting. He found it on his desk late one evening. The fireplace was glowing softly. The room smelled of old books and lemon polish. Benjamin opened it slowly. Inside was a single piece of paper. It read, "Dear Mr. Gray, I know you have taken Mason and Mia into your care. You do not know me, but I knew their father. We were friends once, long ago, before life separated us, before tragedy turned us into ghosts. Their father told me something before he passed, something important, something I think you should know. Those children, they may not be just orphans. There is something hidden. If you care about them, find the truth." Signed, D. Benjamin read the letter 3 times. His fingers gripped the paper tighter with each read. Something hidden. He sat in silence for a long time, then stood and walked to his safe, pulled out the adoption documents, looked through the names again. Carter. Their last name was Carter. He went to his laptop, opened a search page, typed in the name. Dozens of results came up, none useful. Then he added another word. Carter Family Inheritance Riverfield. One result caught his eye. Carter v. State Holdings. A legal case. 12 years ago. He clicked it. The file was long. But near the end he found something shocking. A trust fund. A fund set aside by Mason and Mia's grandfather. It had been locked. Frozen. Because no guardian came forward when their father died. The state had assumed no next of kin remained. The money sat untouched, waiting for a rightful claim. Benjamin leaned back in his chair, his heart racing. Those kids had a future already waiting for them, and they never knew. He picked up his phone and called his lawyer. "Find out everything about the Carter Trust Fund. I need answers by morning." The next day came with soft clouds and gentle wind. The twins ate breakfast without knowing what was coming. Benjamin sat at the head of the table, quiet, watching them, thinking about how easily they could have been lost, how close they came to never knowing the truth. After breakfast, he called them into his study. "Kids, I found something about your family." Mason blinked. "What is it, sir?" He placed the papers on the desk. "Your grandfather, your dad's father, he created a trust fund for your future. It was never claimed, because no one knew where you were." Mia whispered, "What is a trust fund?" "It is money, property, things set aside for you, for when you grow up, for school, for life." Mason looked confused. "Are we rich?" Benjamin smiled. "You are not rich yet, but you are not poor anymore either. And more than money, this means your family did not forget you." Mia whispered, "He cared." Yes, he did, even from far away, even after death. The twins hugged him tightly, not because of the money, but because someone from their past had thought about their future. The lawyer arrived later with more papers, official documents, signatures, legal steps to unlock the trust. "You are now the legal guardians, Mr. Gray. You can access the funds for their benefit, education, health, anything they need." Benjamin nodded. "We will use it wisely." That evening, Mason asked something unexpected. "Do you think our grandfather would be proud of us?" Benjamin looked at him. "I know he would, because I am." And you are just getting started. The next week, Benjamin used part of the fund to set up a foundation, the Carter Hope Fund. It would help other street kids, fund shelters, support education for orphans. Mason and Mia helped design the logo, a simple picture of two hands holding each other, one large, one small. Their story made the news again, but this time, it was different. From headlines of doubt to headlines of hope, from whispers of scandal to echoes of inspiration, the world watched two children go from benches behind a bakery to building a future for others like them. And as Benjamin tucked them into bed one quiet night, Mia asked, "Can we visit where we used to sleep, behind the bakery?" "Why?" "Because I want to leave flowers there. For the old us." Benjamin kissed her forehead. "We will go tomorrow." And they did. Mason placed a rose on the bench. This was where we waited for food. Mia placed a daisy beside it. And now we bring hope. The visit to the bakery bench changed something in Mason and Mia. It reminded them of how far they had come. From sleeping under cardboard to sleeping in soft beds. From hiding from police to standing proudly in school. From having no name to carrying the name Gray. But something else began to grow in their hearts. Gratitude. They no longer wanted just to receive. They wanted to give back. One morning, Mason knocked on Benjamin's door. "Sir, can I ask you something?" Benjamin looked up from his papers. "Anything. Can we use some of the Carter Hope Fund to build a small house for kids like we used to be? Not a shelter, but a real house where they can feel safe." Benjamin stood up slowly, walked over, and placed a hand on Mason's shoulder. "You are thinking like a leader, like someone who sees beyond himself." Mia joined them. "We want to call it the Second Chance House." Benjamin smiled. "Then we will build it." And they did. Plans were drawn. Land was bought. Builders were hired. The media was informed. But not for fame. This time, it was to raise awareness. The story of the orphan twins who fixed a billionaire's car had now become the story of hope, of family, of new beginnings. At the opening of the Second Chance House, the crowd was larger than expected. People from all over town came. Journalists, parents, children, school teachers, local leaders. Benjamin stood beside Mason and Mia on the small stage, a red ribbon stretched in front of them. He took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just a building. This is a promise. That no child should feel invisible. That no child should go to bed hungry. That no child should think they're alone." He handed the microphone to Mason. "We were once just kids on the street. People walked past us every day. But one person stopped, and he changed our lives." Mia added softly, "Now we want to be that person for someone else." The ribbon was cut. The doors opened. Inside was warmth, beds, books, toys, clean clothes, and most importantly, love. The crowd cheered. Some wiped tears. That night, a letter arrived at the Gray estate. No name, no address, just a small piece of paper inside a white envelope. It read, "You have done something no money could ever buy. You gave those children a voice, a chance, a reason to believe. The world is watching, and it is changing because of you." Benjamin read it twice, then folded it and placed it in the top drawer of his desk. Later that week, Mason and Mia visited their old school, the one they had dropped out from before they were adopted. They spoke at assembly. "Do not judge kids who wear old shoes." Mason said, "Do not laugh at kids who smell like the street." Mia added, "You do not know what they are fighting through." The teachers clapped. The students listened. Some cried. Some cheered. Afterward, a girl named Tara came up to them. Her clothes were worn. Her voice quiet. "I live in a car with my mom. Can you help us?" Mia took her hand. "Yes, we can." And just like that, the Second Chance House got its first guest. Back at home, Benjamin watched the twins from the window. They were in the garden. Mason was teaching a boy how to kick a soccer ball. Mia was braiding a girl's hair. They had become more than survivors. They had become beacons. That night, Mason asked Benjamin, "Sir, Do you ever miss being alone? Benjamin laughed softly. I used to think being alone meant peace. But now I know. Real peace is hearing your laughter in this house. Mia smiled. We love you, sir. Benjamin held their hands. And I love you both. You gave me a second chance, too. But even as the stars sparkled above the estate and the air filled with calm, a voice returned. The anonymous writer. Another envelope arrived. No threats. No lies. Just one sentence. The past is not done. And someone from that past is coming. The air was crisp. The morning sky clear and wide. A soft wind moved the trees around the gray estate. Everything looked normal. Calm. The kind of morning when birds chirped and sunlight warmed the curtains gently. But deep down, something was shifting. Benjamin had just returned from a board meeting. He was walking through the hallway when his assistant rushed in. Sir, there's a man at the front gate. He says his name is Daniel Carter. Benjamin froze. Carter? Yes, sir. He says he is the uncle of Mason and Mia. Benjamin stood still for a moment. Then he walked to the door, his face unreadable. At the front gate, a man stood with his hands in his pockets. He looked about 45. Worn jeans, leather jacket, beard trimmed close. His eyes looked tired, but steady. Benjamin approached slowly. You said your name is Daniel Carter. Yes, I am Mason and Mia's uncle. My brother was their father. Where have you been? Far away. I was in prison. Long time. I got out 3 months ago. I had no idea what happened to my brother, or the kids, until I saw them on the news. Benjamin studied him. And now you want them. No, I want to see them. That is all. I do not want money. I just want to know they are safe. Benjamin hesitated, then called over the estate guard. Bring the twins. Minutes later, Mason and Mia came walking down the stone path. They saw the man standing at the gate. Their steps slowed. Mason whispered, That looks like the man in Dad's photo. Mia whispered back, That is Uncle Daniel. They stepped closer. Slowly, carefully, Daniel dropped to one knee. His voice cracked. I am sorry I was not there. I was in a bad place. I made mistakes. But I loved your dad, and I would have come if I knew. Mason looked into his eyes. Why should we believe you? Daniel nodded slowly. You do not have to. I just want to see you with my own eyes. To know someone kind took you in. Mia looked at Benjamin, then back at Daniel. We are safe now. We have a home, a school, people who love us. Daniel smiled. Then I can go in peace. But before he turned to leave, Benjamin spoke. Wait. Daniel turned. Come in. Eat with us. Daniel looked surprised. Why? Because these kids deserve to decide if you belong in their future, not just their past. Inside the dining room, Daniel sat across from the twins. They ate slowly, talking about their father, about childhood memories, about mistakes, about forgiveness. After the meal, Daniel stood to leave. Thank you, all of you. I do not expect to be part of your life, but today meant the world to me. Mason spoke. Do not disappear again. Mia added, We may not trust you yet, but we are willing to try. Daniel smiled through tears. That is more than I deserve. He left quietly. A weight lifted from everyone's shoulders. In the weeks that followed, the twins kept in touch with him through letters. Slow, careful, but steady. Benjamin watched them grow stronger. At school, they began mentoring younger students. At home, they helped cook, clean, laugh. At the Second Chance house, they became leaders, helpers, dreamers. One afternoon, Mia stood before a room full of young girls. We were once just faces in the street. Now we are family. You can be too. Mason added, You are not broken. You are becoming. Benjamin stood at the back of the room, tears in his eyes. Later that evening, he handed each of them a gift. For Mason, a small box. Inside was a watch. The same kind Benjamin's adopted father gave him. You are a man now, and a leader. For Mia, a necklace with a tiny key. This house is always your home, and you will unlock doors for others too. The twins hugged him tight. The stars above the estate sparkled brighter that night. The wind felt softer, the world a little kinder, because two orphan twins had helped fix more than a broken car. They fixed a man's heart. They fixed their own future. And they reminded the world that love, real love, starts with one choice: to stop, to listen, to help, to believe. Thank you so much for watching. We truly appreciate your time and support. If you enjoyed the video, please give a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a meaningful comment below. Let us know your thoughts, and tell us where you're watching from, and what time it is in your part of the world. It means a lot to us to hear from you. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more amazing content like this. And to all our returning subscribers, thank you for your continued support. We couldn't do this without you. Stay tuned for more exciting videos coming your way, and we'll see you in the next one.